Welcome to Story Lux.
How could you do this to Sarah?
The rain hammered against my windshield as I sat frozen in my car, watching the impossible unfold before my eyes. My wife, Sarah, the woman I'd loved for 12 years, was pressed against another man in the back of a white van, their silhouettes unmistakable through the tinted windows. My hands trembled as I reached for the baseball bat in my trunk, rage blurring my vision. But before I tell you what happened next, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button for Story Lux. We bring you real-life stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, let's continue. My wife said she was going shopping, but I saw her kissing another man in a van. I grabbed a stick, opening. The rain hammered against my windshield as I sat frozen in my car, watching the impossible unfold before my eyes. My wife, Sarah, the woman I'd loved for 12 years, was pressed against another man in the back of a white van, their silhouettes unmistakable through the tinted windows. My hands trembled as I reached for the baseball bat in my trunk, rage blurring my vision. But before I tell you what happened next, if you're enjoying this story, please hit that subscribe button for Story Lux. We bring you real-life stories that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Now, let's continue. The story continues. My name is Marcus Turner, and that Tuesday afternoon shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. I'm a 38-year-old accountant, steady, reliable, maybe a little boring. Sarah always said she loved that about me, that I was her rock in a chaotic world. We had a comfortable life in suburban Denver, a modest 3-bedroom house, 2 cars, no kids yet, but we'd been talking about it. That morning had been perfectly ordinary. Sarah kissed me goodbye at 7:30 a.m., her honey blonde hair still damp from the shower, smelling like lavender shampoo. She was wearing her favorite jeans and a cream sweater. "I'm meeting Diane for lunch, then hitting the mall," she'd said, grabbing her purse. "Nordstrom's having a sale. Don't wait up if I'm late." I'd smiled, barely looking up from my coffee and the financial report spread across our kitchen table. "Have fun. Love you." "Love you too," she'd called back. Those words echoed in my head now, mocking me. I'd left work early that day, a rare occurrence. My boss had actually insisted after I'd closed the Henderson account, our biggest client. "Go home, Marcus. Take the afternoon off. You've earned it." I'd felt guilty about it naturally. That's who I am. But I decided to surprise Sarah. Maybe catch her before she left for shopping, take her to an early dinner. I'd pulled into our driveway at 2:47 p.m. I remember checking the clock. Sarah's silver Honda Civic was gone, which made sense. She'd said she was going out, but then I noticed something odd. Her phone, or what I thought might be her phone, was showing a location notification on the tracking app we shared. We'd set it up years ago, not out of mistrust, just practical convenience. "So we know when to start dinner," Sarah had joked when we installed it. The little blue dot showed she was at the Riverside Shopping Plaza, about 15 minutes away. I'd smiled to myself, thinking I could still catch her, maybe join her for a coffee at that cafe she liked near Macy's. But when I got to the plaza, everything changed. I'd driven through the parking lot, scanning for her car, when I spotted the silver Civic tucked away in the far corner near the loading docks, an odd place to park when the main lot had plenty of spaces. And that's when I saw the white van parked next to it, engine running. At first I thought maybe she'd had car trouble, maybe someone was helping her, but something felt wrong. The van's windows were tinted but not completely opaque, and as I slowly drove closer, my heart beginning to pound, I saw movement inside. Then the side door slid open just a crack, just enough, and I saw her, my Sarah, in the arms of a man I'd never seen before. He was tall, muscular, with dark hair and a leather jacket. And they were kissing. Not a friendly peck, not an accidental moment. This was passionate, familiar, the kind of kiss that spoke of history, of intimacy, of secrets kept in shadows. My world tilted sideways. I parked my car 3 rows back, hands shaking so badly I could barely turn off the ignition. My mind raced through 1,000 explanations, each more desperate than the last. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe I was seeing things. Maybe... But I knew. Deep in my gut, I knew. The rage came then, hot and consuming. I popped my trunk and grabbed the aluminum baseball bat I kept there, left over from a company softball game 2 summers ago. I didn't think. I just moved, walking toward that van with the bat gripped so tightly my knuckles went white. I was 10 feet away when reason flickered back to life. What was I gonna do? Smash the windows, drag the guy out and beat him, get arrested, lose everything? I stood there, frozen in the cold afternoon air, the bat heavy in my hands, when the van door suddenly slid all the way open. But instead of Sarah and her lover, 3 people tumbled out. Sarah, the dark-haired man, and a woman I didn't recognize holding a video camera. Marcus? Sarah's face went white. Oh my God, Marcus, what are you doing here? I couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was seeing. The man stepped forward, hands raised in a calming gesture. Whoa, buddy, let's everyone just take a breath. Who the hell are you? I managed to choke out, the bat still raised. Marcus, please. Sarah stepped between us, tears streaming down her face. Please, let me explain, it's not what you think. Not what I think. I heard my voice crack. I saw you kissing him, Sarah. I'm her brother, the man said quietly. The world stopped spinning. Sarah was sobbing now. Marcus, this is Daniel, my half-brother, from my father's first marriage. I lowered the bat slightly, my mind struggling to catch up. You don't have a brother, you're an only child. That's what I told you, Sarah whispered. That's what I told everyone, but it was a lie, Marcus. A lie I've been living with since I was 16 years old. The woman with the camera, young, maybe mid-20s, with kind eyes, spoke up gently. I'm Rebecca Chen. I'm a private investigator and reunion specialist. Maybe we should all go somewhere and talk. The next 3 hours were spent in a quiet corner booth of a nearby diner where Sarah finally told me the truth about her life, the real truth. Her father, Robert Mitchell, had been married before he met Sarah's mother. His first wife, Linda, had died in a car accident when their son Daniel was only 8 years old. Robert had been devastated, barely functional. He'd sent Daniel to live with Linda's sister in Portland while he tried to piece his life together. 2 years later, Robert met Sarah's mother, Carol, and slowly rebuilt his life. They married, had Sarah, and created what looked from the outside like a perfect family. But there was a ghost in that house, a boy in Portland that Robert sent money to every month but never spoke about, never visited. I found out about Daniel when I was 16, Sarah explained, her hands wrapped around a coffee cup that had long gone cold. I was looking for my birth certificate for a summer work permit, and I found papers in Dad's office, letters from Daniel, pictures of him. I confronted my father. She closed her eyes, the memory clearly painful. He begged me not to tell Mom, said it would destroy her, that she'd always been insecure about being his second wife, about Linda's memory. He said Daniel was better off where he was, that bringing him into our lives would only cause pain. So you just never said anything? I asked, still trying to process it all. I was 16, Marcus, and my father made me promise. He said if I really loved him, if I really loved our family, I'd keep this secret. She looked at Daniel, who sat quietly beside Rebecca. I've regretted it every day since. Daniel spoke for the first time since we'd sat down, his voice rough with emotion. I tried to reach out over the years, letters, emails, calls, but Robert always intercepted them, always kept me away. He'd send money, generous amounts, but he made it clear, stay in Portland, stay out of his new life. Why now? I asked. Why after all these years? Our father died 6 weeks ago, Sarah said softly. Heart attack, and in his will there was a letter for me. He apologized, said he'd been a coward, said he'd kept us apart because he was afraid of his own grief, afraid that seeing Daniel would bring back memories of Linda that would tear his new family apart. He begged me to find Daniel, to make things right. Rebecca picked up the story. Sarah hired me to find Daniel. It wasn't easy. He'd moved around a lot over the years, but we eventually tracked him to Seattle. I facilitated their reunion 3 weeks ago. I looked at Sarah, something still not adding up. But why lie to me? Why all the secrecy? We're married, Sarah, I would have understood. Sarah's tears flowed freely now. Because I was ashamed, Marcus. Ashamed that I'd gone along with my father's lie for 22 years. Ashamed that I'd let my brother live like an orphan while I played happy family. I didn't know how to tell you I'd been lying about something so fundamental since the day we met. And the kissing? I asked. The image still burned into my brain. Daniel actually laughed, a broken, sad sound. That was me being an idiot. Sarah was crying, telling me how sorry she was for all the lost years, and I kissed her forehead. She turned her head at the wrong moment and, yeah, extremely awkward brotherly love right there, Rebecca nodded. I was documenting their reunion for Sarah's records. She wanted to have memories of reconnecting with Daniel. I got that unfortunate moment on camera. We were actually reviewing the footage when you showed up with the bat. I sat back, the bat now resting against the booth beside me, feeling like the world's biggest fool and simultaneously the victim of the cruelest misunderstanding of all time. Why the van? I asked. Why meeting in parking lots? Because I'm a coward, Sarah said simply. I wanted to get to know Daniel, to build a relationship, but I wasn't ready to tell you yet. Wasn't ready to admit what I'd done or hadn't done all these years. The van is Daniel's work vehicle. He's a contractor. We'd meet in public places where I said I was shopping, spend a few hours talking, then go our separate ways. How many times? I asked. This was our 4th meeting, Daniel answered. We were taking it slow, getting to know each other, figuring out what kind of relationship we could have after all these years. I looked at my wife, really looked at her and saw the weight she'd been carrying, the guilt, the shame, the fear of losing me if I knew the truth. You should have told me, I said quietly. I know. I know that too, now. She reached across the table, her hand trembling. Marcus, I'm so sorry for lying, for making you doubt me, for all of it. I stared at her hand for a long moment, then slowly took it in mine. I almost hit him with a bat, I said. I noticed, Daniel replied dryly. Might want to work on your communication skills before resorting to violence. Despite everything, I laughed. It was absurd, all of it. The misunderstanding, the secrets, the baseball bat, meeting my wife's secret brother in a diner after nearly committing assault in a parking lot. But as we sat there, Sarah squeezing my hand like a lifeline, I realized something important. Our marriage had been built on honesty and trust, but also on the understanding that we're all carrying things, fears, shames, mistakes. The question wasn't whether Sarah had made a mistake by keeping this secret. She had. The question was whether our relationship was strong enough to survive the truth. We spent the rest of that evening talking, really talking. Daniel told us about his life in Seattle, his carpentry business, his girlfriend of 3 years. Sarah filled him in on our life, showed him pictures of our house, our cat, our friends. I listened, asked questions, and slowly let go of the rage and betrayal I'd felt in that parking lot. Rebecca eventually excused herself, leaving the 3 of us to continue building bridges that should have been built decades ago. It wasn't perfect. Over the following weeks, Sarah and I went to counseling to work through the breach of trust. I struggled with the lie, with the fact that she'd hidden something so fundamental. But I also came to understand the impossible position her father had put her in as a teenager and the shame spiral that had kept her silent. Daniel became a regular part of our lives. He'd drive down from Seattle once a month, stay with us for the weekend. He taught me some basic carpentry, helped me build a deck in our backyard. Sarah and he would spend hours talking, filling in the gaps of all those lost years, grieving for the childhood they'd been denied. 6 months after that terrible, wonderful day in the parking lot, we all gathered at a small cemetery outside Denver where Sarah's father was buried. Sarah and Daniel stood together before the headstone, and I watched as they made their peace with the man who'd kept them apart. I forgive you, Dad, Sarah whispered, her hand in Daniel's, and I forgive myself. That night, as Sarah and I lay in bed, she turned to me with a question she'd been afraid to ask. Do you forgive me, Marcus? Really forgive me? I thought about that moment in the parking lot, the bat in my hands, the world I thought I knew shattering. I thought about the man I'd almost become, violent, irrational, broken by jealousy and rage. But I also thought about the weeks since then, the honesty, the vulnerability, the way Sarah had opened up, not just about Daniel, but about everything, her fears, her insecurities, her deepest self. Yes, I said, pulling her close, I forgive you, and maybe I should thank you too. For showing me that we're all carrying secrets, that none of us are as simple as we seem, that marriage isn't about being perfect, it's about being real. She cried then, but they were good tears, healing tears. A year later, Daniel was the best man at a small ceremony where Sarah and I renewed our vows. We decided we wanted to recommit to each other, but this time with complete honesty as our foundation. No secrets, no lies, just 2 imperfect people choosing each other every day. In his toast, Daniel raised his glass and said, "To Marcus, the only man I know who'd bring a bat to a family reunion and leave with a brother." Everyone laughed, but I knew what he really meant. To second chances, to family, to the truth that sets us free. As I looked around that room, at Sarah glowing with happiness, at Daniel and his girlfriend Rebecca, yes, they'd fallen in love during the investigation, at our friends and the family we'd chosen and been given, I thought about how close I'd come to destroying it all in a parking lot with an aluminum bat and wounded pride. Life doesn't always give you easy answers. Sometimes the people we love hurt us. Sometimes we hurt them. Sometimes what looks like betrayal is actually a wounded person trying to find their way home. That white van, that parking lot, that terrible moment, they weren't the end of my marriage. They were, in the strangest way, the beginning of a deeper, truer one. And the baseball bat? It sits in our garage now, a reminder that sometimes the best swing is the one you don't take. If this story moved you, please don't forget to subscribe to Storylux for more incredible real-life stories. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And remember, things aren't always what they seem. Sometimes what looks like the end is really a new beginning. Until next time, this is Storylux, reminding you that truth and love can survive anything, even baseball bats and parking lot misunderstanding regularly.